Just where are you going?
Where are you going? You're not going to the bar again, are you?
You like hanging out, drinking beer at the bar, talking sports? Come on out and join us weekly. Guys at the Bar Talking Sports, your podcast for just that. Hanging out, drinking some beer, talking sports.
Cut, Beth.
There's no.
All right, welcome to Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. This is your sports podcast show that is celebrating a half a decade of podcasting this season. On December, I think it's like November 15th-ish is going to be 5 years since we started podcasting on this show. Yeah, 5 years, man. That's insane, right?
That's awesome.
So this is a bunch of neighborhood friends. We just get together. We talk about sports, hang out, giving you the best podcasting sports content in the sports podcasting world. There we go. That was a freaking mouthful. Jesus.
You okay?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah.
Have another sip.
4 hours of pressure washing will do that to you.
Alliteration
before
aside.
the show, yeah. Because us little people, we have to work a little bit in this world, you know, and do our own yard work and stuff. So anyway, moving on. So stay tuned because you are in for a treat this week. We're going to deep dive into the SEC as well as the Big Ten conferences, just talking about high-level stuff within those conferences, each team and so forth, how they're going to do this season. So you're going to love that. And then we are only here because you subscribe to the show. So share that show with 5 of your friends and give us positive reviews in your favorite podcast app. We have a Facebook group as well, Guys About Talking Sports. It is the best Facebook group for sports in the Facebook world. So it's free to join, so feel free to do it. Always love having people support the show as well. If you want to feed our drinking habit or just our love for money habit, you can go ahead and give us some money on @Guys About Talking Sports is our Venmo handle. So let's go ahead and do some introductions, please. We have negotiated contracts with a few new people this week. And let me go ahead and introduce them real fast. We have the Rooster. What's up, Rooster?
Oh, how's everybody doing?
Doing well, thank you. And then we have the Chief wearing his Guys at the Bottom Sports shirt. So you are all in.
All in.
All in, man. I'm glad you're back. I really am. We have over here Cheeks.
Yep.
Our favorite female on the show. We have myself, I'm Hanger, and then we have over here Kipper the Predictor.
Okay, we'll go with that.
All right. Ripper the Predictor!
Just in case they didn't know. Good evening,
I
everybody.
think you changed your name last week too.
I know.
I can't get it right.
Let's just do a different name every week.
Luckily, I can edit all I want now because I have the software to do it. So.
I think I like Kipper the Predictor.
Kipper the Predictor.
I was the
Some type
felon
of-
last
Isn't
week.
a kipper like a little
meat.
fish?
Yeah. All right, last week,
Yeah.
we did bring something up that was interesting, and I was thinking about it, right? You got your group of 5 teams this season, and they are guaranteed a spot in the playoffs, right? If whichever group of 5 team has the highest ranking at the end of the season, and they have to be a conference champion within that group of 5, they get an automatic spot in the playoff.
Number 12.
Yeah. Question. I wanted to ask you all this because I was thinking about it. You got the 12-team playoff. Those teams right there, if you're good enough to get into the playoff, you probably have some good players on your team. You have a good coach, so forth, right? Is the group of 5 only going to get picked off by the Power 4, and that's going to eliminate the fact that these teams are going to be even good enough to play and compete in this world? What are your thoughts on that? I'm going to give it to you over there, Chief.
So, a couple of years, 3 years ago, Cincinnati made the playoff,
Yep.
14 playoff. I think we're going to see more of that. Now, not every team in the group of 5, but I think we're going to see more. Rebel was talking about it last week. I think you're going to see, as the money gets spread like peanut butter, you're going to see schools that can afford it are going to be able to have better teams. And so we're going to see some group of 5 teams that have a cross between they were able to recruit better, and they just happen to have some kids whose talent was underrated during recruiting. And so maybe their second or their third year playing, all of a sudden they're a breakout player or breakout players.
But does anyone agree with me that as soon as you have a breakout player, December 15th happens,
Oh, yeah.
and that portal opens up.
They're going to get wooed away.
Don't disagree, but if their breakout year is their junior year, they might be like, I'm just going to the pros.
Yeah, but but that money over at Alabama, they're in the coach. As soon as that coach in the group of 5 has a good season, I mean, Carolina's going to pick them off as soon as they fire Shane Beamer. Gators are going to pick them up as soon as they fire. There's certain teams that the coaches are on the hot seat and they're looking for that group of 5 coach. Something like the coach at Cincinnati, where's he coaching at now? I can't
Wisconsin.
At Wisconsin, hasn't done too much last season, but this season they're expected, I think, to have 7.5 wins, and then next season they're probably
Overrated.
better. Huh?
Nothing.
Well, we'll get into that later, right? I just wanted to bring that up because I was just thinking about it, and I was like, man, there's going to be no group of 5 teams that's going to be worth a crap.
Right.
In my opinion, by the time you start having this whole transfer, December 15th happens, April 1st?
Sun Belt make a good farm system for the SEC and the Big Ten.
Exactly. So
But we'll see how pride goes, because I think some of these guys, they might be, maybe they got snubbed by some of those big schools back then. You know, maybe they thought they should have been playing for one of those
pride or $1 million.
Well, you know, my ego only goes so far. About $1 million is the right price, but
What do you think, Ripper? The predictor.
You know, a pass. I'm
Pass.
thinking about something else right now.
Okay. Well, what are you thinking about?
He's got Big Ten on his mind.
I got
right.
Big Ten on my mind.
Big Ten. All right. So, who wins the Natty first, Alabama or Oregon? Both of them have relatively new coaches. Both of them are highly rated. Alabama or Oregon, who's going to win the national championship first? Not this year's, next season, whatever. If it doesn't happen, both.
I'm going to say Oregon.
Oregon.
Yeah, because still, just to get through an entire season through the SEC, now you're adding a pretty good Texas and a pretty stout Oklahoma team into that mix. And then to get through the playoffs and maintain your depth, I'm going to have to say that Oregon would have a better chance because the Big Ten is still more top-heavy than the SEC, and they're not going to have to go through as rigorous of a schedule, you know, throughout the entire season to be able to make it to the end. So I
But
would
how
say
can you
Oregon.
predict that? You don't even know who's going to be on the team.
No, I'm talking about
The rigor of the schedule. I
Yeah.
agree. So
Yeah.
that's a good point
you
that
got,
I agree with.
you got more. I mean, SEC has just got the talent of the South, and it's got more
Yes.
recruiting power. Now that may catch up with the Big Ten when you're going coast to coast and the Mid East.
That's what I think is going to be a factor for these West Coast schools that are having to travel every other week or every week, like big long distance.
Oh, USC, UCLA, and Oregon and Washington are going to have to be. I mean, they're going to be traveling to Maryland and where else? You know, like Ohio.
Right.
I mean, all over the
But
East
it's not
Coast.
like it's not like in a your away, your 6 or 7 away games. It's not like they're only 1 or 2 are heavy travel. It's like practically every away game for them is heavy travel.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. That's going to be very tough for them. But then again, Alabama's going to be playing some pretty damn stout teams every single season, no matter what.
Alabama's got a hell of a schedule this year.
Yeah,
they do.
exactly. If you're playing 6 ranked teams, I mean, I was looking at the Big Ten. At most, these guys are playing 4 ranked teams in the top 25,
Yeah.
but most of them are 4 is high.
Yeah.
Most of them are 2 or even 1 ranked team for the whole season. You know,
I do disagree a little bit on it, and if we're going to get into talking about some of the schedules that are in the SEC, I would say that in prior years you've seen some big heavy clashes going on early on in the season. If you look at the schedules this year, I only see one big heavy clash for the first game. That's Clemson, Georgia. Everybody else, first 2 or 3 games of the year, they're playing cupcakes. And if you look
Yeah,
at
they sure are.
Alabama, you got Western Kentucky, South Florida. They got a Wisconsin team that might do something.
Yeah,
and
that's
they
in
got Georgia,
Wisconsin.
which is a tough one. But their out-of-conference schedule is not what it used to be at all whatsoever.
it's no Florida's out of conference schedule for sure.
Sure,
for most
yeah.
of those
Florida
teams.
was one that I had circled as one of the harder schedules in the
Miami,
SEC.
Florida State,
yep.
UCF. You know, those are the 3 out of, or they play 4 out of state or out of conference games, and the only one that's a layup is Stanford.
Is that mandated by the legislature down there?
No, I don't. And there's nothing mandated by the legislature on teams in Florida playing each other. It's just there's these in-state rivalry that always goes on there, and they always try to line those games up. Like for 2 years in a row, they played USF. They've played UCF quite a few times as well, and Miami is probably like every 6 or 7 years they've played consistently, and they'll do 2 games, like some sort of 2-game trade or something like that. This year it's in Gainesville. So anyhow,
I'm just saying that I think the SEC knows that the target's on their back, and they know they're gonna have some attrition with just playing each other anyways. So I'm seeing that their schedule is out of conference, not as hard as they used to be. They're sick of having the target on their back. They want to rest their teams. They're going to be ready for the playoffs.
and I guarantee you, going forward, they're going to be making sure that those 4 games that are out of conference, unless it's like Clemson playing USC or Florida playing Florida State, they're going to try to make sure that those games are layups for sure. Find yourself a Florida.
Give the team a rest.
I mean, early on when I look at the SEC, despite it having so much talent, so many quality teams, it still, to me, it looks like a 2-team race. Texas and Georgia. Georgia is the most probably talented team in the country, if not, top 3 easily. And then you got Texas that has a lot of talent coming back. Another year is the head coach for what's his nuts. But
What's his
Sarkeesian?
nuts? I thought we were being
Sarkeesian.
clean. I thought we were being clean on this show. For
Well, I mean,
Like,
nuts are like
What's his
sometimes
nuts?
squirrels eat the nuts. You
what's wrong
know.
with what's his nuts?
All nuts,
know.
peanuts,
Yeah,
bowl
Come
of
Come on,
nuts.
Ray, get your head out of the gutter. He's got a little shell shock after last week.
Last week we put 4 years of cursing into one show just to get out of it.
I don't recall that.
If we want to continue with SEC talk before we get too deep, I'll just say that every year the SEC has shown us a sleeper. I think last year LSU crept up on all of us.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with you on the Georgia bit. Quarterback was brand new in role. Eyes were super wide last year. Didn't have any playoff experience.
Didn't look that great, but still got it done.
Yep, but in the big game, maybe not so much with Alabama in that final game there. Looking for him to bring that talent and that he's got a lot more experience. He rides around on $1.7 million airplanes now. He's got a Lamborghini. He's got to earn his keep. So
He's slumming it.
Wow.
slumming it. And NIL money in Georgia is real. Go to Athens.
I don't think we should fall asleep on Ole Miss. They could be the spoiler this year.
Are we talking SEC now?
I think we are.
Well,
Did we transition? Or
That
you
was a
wanna
good
hold off?
transition,
Yeah.
man. I like it. All right. Yeah, we should not sleep on Ole Miss at all. They have a team that's been built to win the game.
They got an offense that's
And they got a little bit of money down there.
stout
too.
offense, but defensively, he pulled some people in from the portal that are gonna, fill some gaps for him.
Well, I think they're going to come out really. I mean, they're already ranked 6th, and they don't play
And some
anybody
polls
for
they're
like the
fifth.
first 6 weeks of the season. So they're going to be 5-6-0. Right out the gate, starting at 6-0. So they're going to be a top 5. They're going to be a top 5 team by the time they actually start to play anybody. So
But-
they're going to have a lot of, I guess, momentum when it comes to the polls.
So they have 7 games in a row that they're playing. The first 6 games are not layups, but games that they're expected
Easier.
to win. Yeah. But on the 7th game that they're playing, 7 weeks, they're playing LSU, who has a bye week the week before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
They
going
lo-
to be a tough game.
They lose
where's
that game.
And where's that game?
I believe they're playing in LSU. Yeah. So
Never easy.
The other Death Valley.
I mean, and if it's a night game, it's a guaranteed loss.
yeah. So 7
It's hard to bet against that.
7 weeks in a row, LSU playing at home. That's going to be a tough game as it is. And then LSU had 2 weeks to prepare against a team that has plenty of video by that point to see how. There's plenty of clips for them to show the players on what they're going to do. So I think that LSU is going to be the first game that they lose. I don't see. I mean, there's a few other games they play Oklahoma and Georgia that round out their season against ranked teams.
And then they close out against the easy teams, Florida and Mississippi State.
But they got to go too far, huh?
I'm not that high on Florida this
I just
year, by
wanted
the way,
to
but-
put a little jab in there. That's all I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, Mississippi State is an easy layup for them this season for sure.
Now, do they start with A&M?
No.
No, who starts with A&M? Somebody.
Can't remember, man. I can't remember. So let's see. I wanted to start at the top with the best team in the SEC by the stats. 10.5 points, or 10.5 wins is expected by Texas and Georgia each, right? Those are the 2 teams that everyone expects to be the 2 best teams in the country. Georgia's all around just a great team. There's no places that they're weak that I've seen. Rooster, what are your thoughts on Georgia this season?
I think they're going to be. Kirby Smart was given new purpose. I think at the end of last year with the playoffs, not getting into the playoffs, getting snubbed in his mind. I think it was the right call by the committee, but he's going to use that to fuel the team. They didn't lose a ton of talent on defense like they did the year before. So I don't think this is as big as a rebuild year for Georgia. They lost a couple of wide receiver talent, obviously with Brock Bowers in the air, McConkey.
But who's the guy that's following Brock Bowers? I mean, he played fine last year.
Yeah,
Brock Bowers was up for 2 or 3 games?
Not Bowers and McConkey. I mean, he was clutch.
Yeah, I mean, it's still you've lost some key players. Georgia is a football factory. We've said, they're not going to be as good. That's what we said about them last year. They ended up with 1 loss going into the bowl game. So
clearly we nailed that one.
Yeah, nailed it. So, and they've got now what I'll consider a veteran quarterback who's played in huge games. SEC championship game is about as big as you get before you get to the playoffs. So I think Georgia is going to rip through the SEC. I think, again, Kirby Smart has been given purpose. They're going to make it to the playoffs. I feel sorry for Clemson in week 1.
So Cheeks. Texas, Clemson, Ole Miss, Alabama. Those are the 4 teams that Georgia's playing that are possible upsets for them. Which one do you think is the most likely upset?
Texas.
Okay. And then this Clemson game, first game of the season. I'll let you answer this one. Do you think that Clemson even stands a chance against them, or what?
I absolutely do think Clemson stands a chance. I don't know if it's going to be an upset, but I think Clemson's going to be a lot harder to beat than a lot of people think.
I agree.
It's first game of the season. Both teams aren't going to have all their stuff together. Clemson's going to believe they can win.
Oh yeah, and there's plenty of talk at their back right now that's saying, "Oh, Georgia's going to destroy you." There's a lot of motivation there for that team, I'm sure. And
Night game?
and Dabo Swinney, pardon me.
Night game?
I have no idea.
I don't even know what time
Noon.
Noon. That's right. They
kickoff.
just announced it. Noon.
But at Georgia. And,
Yeah.
Well, it's in
I thought it was
Atlanta.
neutral.
It's in Atlanta. But
Oh, it's in
that's-
Atlanta? It's in Georgia.
But it's still a home game. But
You weren't wrong.
It's almost equidistant from both
It
campuses.
is.
yeah, it's like 2.5 hours from Clemson. I
No,
think.
not even. An
Not
hour and
even?
15.
Okay.
Who did Georgia play the first game of the season last year in Atlanta?
Straight down the interstate,
No,
I-85.
it
I
was,
feel like they always play that game.
it was
Oh, they
somebody
played
else.
Oregon, didn't they?
Oregon, and it was
I think
widely.
it
I think it
was
was 92%.
Yeah, but that's
Red.
Oregon. You got Clemson across right down
Oregon
the road.
brought a whole duck to Indiana. Come on, they travel.
Yeah, Texas. Okay, so I'm high on Texas this season.
Yeah.
You have Quinn Ewers. This guy has plenty of experience now. He's always had good seasons. He's always been out for 1 or 2 games because of an ankle sprain or some crap like that. But the guy has plenty of passes thrown throughout his career. He's has so many attempts. This is a team that has an offensive line that is the best in the business. I think that they win the SEC. But does anybody disagree with me on that or agree with me on that? Let me go with you,
Well,
Ripper.
Yes and no. We will find out what they look like in the second week of the season when they have to go to Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
And that's going to tell us a lot about these two conferences right out the gate, honestly.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
Michigan's
a
got-
must-win game for Texas for
You know,
sure,
we're-
just to
No,
show.
We're not talking about Big Ten yet, but let's be clear. Michigan's overrated at their current rank.
I mean, I want to say
Nothing
so.
but overrated.
I want to say so,
Yeah.
but I can't because they keep kicking our ass.
Most likely upset. So you have 2 big rivalry games Texas has to go to. Oklahoma, obviously, always at a neutral site, and then they play Texas A&M.
Oklahoma could be a spoiler.
They could be. We'll get to them, but Oklahoma. Which one do you think is more the bigger rivalry that the team's going to come out and play their hardest? Do you think Oklahoma or Texas A&M? Just because they haven't. Okay.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
called the
plus-
Red River Rivalry. That's the rivalry
What I'm
game.
not sure about, they just lost Dylan Gabriel, who's playing his 13th season in Oregon this year. So,
I thought the Texas-Oklahoma game was the Red River.
yeah.
That's what I said.
Oh, I thought you said A&M.
Yeah, no. So Texas A&M, that's their last game
Are you
of the
saying
season.
what's the bigger rivalry, Texas
Yeah.
A&M and Texas or Texas Oklahoma?
No, it's definitely Texas-Oklahoma.
Yeah, so Texas A&M is the last game of the season. I don't think Texas A&M. I mean, they're expected to win. I think it's like 7.5 games.
I think they're supposed to be better than they were last year. That's what.
Well, that would be an improvement.
Brand new
Yeah.
coach though, man. I just don't know. I just don't
Jimbo's
see
going to
it.
make a turnaround this year.
Yeah, but I just don't see it. 8.5 games is where they're at, and we'll talk about them. But I think Texas is made to win this season in the SEC, and they don't have that tough of a schedule. They have a generally hard schedule, but it's not that tough. It's doable.
Well, I agree with you there. But they got Michigan, who's a paper 9. Then they have. I mean, the good thing is
I love you.
you get to see a couple
I
games
can't
early.
say.
So you got the Texas-Oklahoma game, Texas State Fair going on right there in the east side of Texas, and there'll be tons of people there. You got Georgia, Texas, October 19th. And then that's all they really have. They do have A&M at the end of the season at 20, but we'll see what happens with A&M.
Nobody's talking about Colorado. You don't think? I mean, Dion came out of the gate flaming last year. You don't think that he's going to have a little bit of chutzpah for this season
No,
in the beginning?
not a chance.
Okay.
No.
No, but I think.
Whoa! Look who shows up.
Rebel.
All right.
Oh!
No, I don't disagree here.
Make this man a
I think
seat.
that Texas is set up for it. I just want everybody to keep in mind it is their first year in the SEC, so they do have to play SEC caliber teams
Yep.
every single week, which Big
They
12
played Alabama
arguably
last
was.
2 years, right?
They did. Yep, lost 1-1-1, correct? So, or they lost in regular season last year to Alabama, right?
I think it was 1-1
Yeah.
the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Because Ewers got knocked out.
Yeah, so we'll see what that looks like. I do think that some of the dilution that we talked about with the money being passed around a little bit, there is some dilution in the SEC. We're seeing that teams.
Oil money?
Hey, if you think there's money in Georgia, there's plenty of money in Texas, and they love their football. So I don't think that's going to be an issue.
If you were an SEC team,
Before we move on from the conversation, though, because Oklahoma, we talked about being a spoiler. They're my spoiler pick for the SEC this year. I will never, ever, ever bet against Venables. I still believe he was the best defensive coordinator in the country. He's had some time to build up his team, and now I think he's always under the radar. He's not getting up on stage. Look for Oklahoma to make some noise. Not saying that they're going to spoil the SEC championship, but I think they got an upset or two up their sleeve.
I agree with that. Somebody who was counting a win is going to get a loss.
are you
That's
trying to
why
say
Oklahoma.
something?
I'm saying this: Texas ain't gonna win the SEC because yours will find a way to shit the bed just like he does every year.
So glad the first sentence out of his mouth.
Soon,
Right out.
Hide the kids quick.
and the
All
color
right.
is here on the left.
Oklahoma, they're expected to win 7.5 games this season.
That's
okay?
it, really?
They play 6 ranked opponents.
They do.
And Jackson Arnold leads the team this season, a brand new quarterback. They just chose him to be the QB1. He has 24 attempts total in college football, came from Georgia.
Well, he gets to warm up against Temple and Houston and Tulane.
Yeah, so and I put that in my notes. So you got Houston,
easy.
Temple, Tulane, 3 games in a row.
Houston may not be a walk in the park.
North
Tulane might not.
Tulane
might beat them.
Yeah, Tulane went 11-1 last season.
Right, that's what. But I mean, Houston was pretty good last year too.
Last year they stepped back. It was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah. So, but they could have a good season, but 7.5 wins. Would you put your money on Vegas that they get 8 wins then?
I wish we had this podcast before because I would absolutely put my money on Oklahoma and have more than 8 wins. So let's go through it real quick here. You got after Temple, Houston, Tulane, which by all rights they should be 3-0 there. You got Tennessee, Auburn, Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Maine, Missouri,
Those Bears might be really talented.
Alabama, and then LSU. Okay, I might eat my words. 7 looks like that's about the right number.
Yeah. Okay. So if you were an SEC team and you had the following on your schedule, ready? Vanderbilt, UMass, Buffalo, Murray State, Boston College, Arkansas, Mississippi, Carolina.
I'd be thanking the gods.
Yeah, well, that's Missouri this season, y'all.
That's 6
Missouri
Set up
6
for
to
it.
7.
Set up
has
for it.
expected to have 9.5 wins this season, and they have a veteran quarterback in Cook.
9.5. Who do they have them losing to?
Exactly. I mean, I don't have their
South
schedule.
Carolina.
Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not South Carolina.
I mean, it's two
And then a
losses.
throw.
But we could.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is a team that can easily be in the SEC championship based upon that schedule.
Yep.
No problem.
In another conversation I had, I said
With a veteran team.
I said they get to the SEC championship and then they lose in the SEC championship.
Oh,
yeah.
for sure.
I mean, honestly, when I went through this, I said their only loss. I said they lose at Alabama, and I said in their next hardest game will be here in Columbia because the Battle of Columbia is whoever's playing home
It's
tends to
always
win the
good.
game. It doesn't matter kind of what kind of year they're having. You can go back and look at it statistically. There's only been a few times that it went the other way.
You know what's great about their schedule is they get the same schedule next year too, because all the SEC teams have the same schedule, just flipped home games.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma and A&M will both knock them off. I'm looking at 9-3 for Missouri.
Oh, okay. Hey,
Yeah,
that's good.
not making the playoffs.
So,
I don't think A&M's got it in them. I think they're 10-2.
I know, but it's there.
I love the devil's advocate right there, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
The only thing that I do like about that A&M game is that's their first real competition, and
It is a college station, so that's going to
yeah.
be something. But
They're-
A&M is quickly becoming Notre Dame, overpriced and undersell. So
or Michigan at this point.
fair.
Brian Kelly, a guy
You're
who,
after my heart.
so
You know I've always loved you.
I mean,
Brian Kelly, a guy who has never won a championship, was brought into LSU to win championships, right?
Brought
Right
a
out-
southern accent with him too.
Yeah.
in some odd.
Did he
photo
pick that
shoots.
up at Bucky's on the way
I'm
down?
pretty sure.
Some very odd photo shoots for sure. Right off the bat, they play USC. Cheeks.
That's a win.
Ranked 23rd. Is that a win for you or a loss?
I think USC's losing.
You
I
think?
don't,
Okay.
I don't think they're going to have a great season. I think
talking
Lincoln's
about
going to be crying in his Wheaties.
Yeah. Week 3 at LSU. That's the next game. That could be an upset. Or not week 3 at LSU. Sorry. Where was I at? So November you got Florida. I don't know that their schedule is not a schedule that I feel like they're gonna lose 3 games. I think that they're gonna be 10-2 at the end
Who are
of
you
the
talking
season.
about?
LSU.
Oh, I don't know if they're gonna be. I don't think they're
The
gonna be 10-2.
Tigers.
They lost. I mean, again, losing their quarterback and then their top receiver. And they went 8-4 last year with their Heisman, I think. 9-3, 8-4, something like that.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know.
I don't think they're getting to 10 wins.
I don't think Brian Kelly has them to win too many games right now, especially after losing a quarterback with that much talent, like you said.
I think they lose to Ole Miss at Ole Miss. I think they lose to Alabama at Alabama. I think they are in every game other than that. So yeah, they could go 10-2, very realistically, when you look at the schedule. I mean, just UCLA's not going to have anything. I think they blow USC out first.
You
game of
don't
the
think
year.
UCLA is going to have anything? I disagree.
Well, Chip Kelly is no longer there.
I still think that they're going to do better than USC.
What conference are they in?
Crap conference.
Thank you very much.
First season without Saban. We love talking about Alabama because somebody like who is it? Is it
DeBear?
Chopper that always says never underestimate Alabama, right?
It's always because of Saban, though.
Yeah.
It's always
never,
because of
never
Saban.
bet against Saban, I believe, is the
Is the
direct
quote.
quote. Yep.
Well,
That's
those good
right.
luck charms aren't in his office anymore.
So game day is going to be amazing.
Supposedly, I think that was a fake news meme where you
I bet you
boy.
every thrift store within 50 miles of Tuscaloosa is going through their stuff.
Yeah.
200 miles. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? He's a god down
They could have
there.
bought 10 more players with that.
I'm kidding.
So Alabama has the offensive line to protect the quarterback for sure. I'm looking at receiving receiving core, and I'm looking at their running backs, right? They don't have. When I'm looking at that, the receiving core is not. They're not putting up 800 yards a season, 700 yards a season. Like their best receiver has like 400 yards last season. That's it, which is okay, but it's not good enough to be a standout in my eyes.
I think Alabama loses 4 games this year.
Wow, 4 games, so 8.
They're coming in with a new coach, new scheme, new everything, and you got kids that were not recruited there to do that.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of hurt feelings because you're going to have key guys that played a big part in that team last year, but now because of new schemes, you're going to see their roles diminish, and it's going to be how do they adapt, and do they want to play, or do you see people midseason going, I'm out, I'm in the portal, I'm gone, don't have to deal with this. I got them losing 4 games this year.
Wow. Yeah, so this is what I was looking at. They can easily lose to Tennessee, LSU, or Oklahoma away, because those are all away games.
They could lose to Wisconsin at Wisconsin.
I got
They lose Georgia. They lose Georgia.
Losing to Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia's at Alabama.
And because of everything considered, again, I said 4. They may lose 5. You let them stagger into Auburn last game of the year with 4 losses and not having a whole lot to play for. You could see Auburn get a little bit of revenge.
Almost got it last year.
Exactly, with a better team.
Alabama's at LSU also.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's
So-
why I said earlier I had this conversation with a friend, and I said 4 losses, and they could potentially lose 5.
I had them 7.5 wins looking at their schedule, or 7 and 5 at the end of the season because of they have Georgia, they could lose that game obviously, and then they have to play Mizzou, then they have LSU, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. Those are all games that, and those 3 games, the last 3 games are away.
Yeah, but Mizzou is at Alabama.
I think they might lose to Wisconsin.
I think they're going to lose to Wisconsin.
I think Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I think Wisconsin.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to transition over to the Big Ten because Wisconsin is the second most overrated team in the Big Ten.
I know.
Right next to Big Blue, Michigan.
Yes, but Camp Randall is just a
That's the
tough
third
place to play.
time. Third time I've referenced that. What's that?
It's a tough place to play, but again, it is only a noon game, so that helps them.
What about let's stay at home for a minute and go with South Carolina. Has anyone looked into this South Carolina team at all that can
Yeah.
speak
They
about
just named
them?
their quarterback.
Oh, did
Who's
they
the
finally?
quarterback?
Sellers is the quarterback.
Sellers going to be the quarterback.
Is that the guy from Florence?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That originally committed where?
He's a local boy.
So he's a freshman.
Syracuse.
So,
He's a freshman.
so before we got off Alabama, I was going to say Alabama was going to lose to Columbia and then finish out the season, kind of right the ship, finish out 9-3.
No. I mean, who knows? They may surprise everybody, but I think all things
I
considered.
got to keep our locals happy, buddy.
South Carolina's going into its first game, 20-point favorite. They have sucked wind at every first game.
We got more people coming. The choppers in the house.
Oh, the man.
I'll just say
The
this:
man.
if you're expecting
The legend.
better than 6 and 6 out of the Gamecocks this year, then we have a subscriber that has the Carolina sweatshirt on with the smoking and looking up in the air. You know who you are.
You mean the one who says only 11 more days till
we wait to say next year?
Hey, breaking news alert: J-Lo filed for divorce today.
Okay,
Saying
well,
that. Yeah.
thank goodness. Let's keep it out of here.
The Gamecocks are going to have a tough season.
Tough season.
They already
tough
have a bad
schedule.
schedule.
Tough
But
schedule.
it was a bad
So,
But if they can get one good upset,
Wasn't
They go 7-5 this
I'll
year.
take it.
7 and 5,
They're gonna win a game they shouldn't,
I got
and they'll win
7-5.
the ones that they should.
They're going to lose a game that they shouldn't.
7 and
That
5?
is
Where
the
are they gonna
Carolina
be?
way.
I got them 7-5.
I have them at 6 and 6.
Yeah.
And I'll bet anybody a beer that beats me.
Only
You
because
said 7 wins, 5 losses. I'm flipped.
I said the same thing.
You got it at 5 and 7.
Oh yeah.
I'm going middle road 6 and 6. Come on, Gamecocks. Let's go.
I'm sticking with 6 and 6 as well, only because they're the local team, and I hope that they make a bowl game.
No, I
But
do
I don't
think that
realistically
Shane
really will.
Beamer is a good coach.
I do too.
I think that he can work on some recruiting. We're in a hotbed for recruiting, but there's some local talent that he hasn't gotten. I think there's some talent that we didn't expect him to get that he's gotten. Where Shane Beamer is missing right now at South Carolina is what brought Carolina to excellence about 10 years ago. Defensive line. They're missing the defensive line. In SEC football, you can't get run over because you look what happened last year. As soon as they got into a
4-8.
dogfight, all the other teams did was just run the ball right at them, and their defensive line could not hold. They need bigger,
Why-
fatter
Am I wrong?
hogs.
But did they not just sign a 5-star defensive end this?
This year, it's not going to help him for this year.
Right.
He's
What's his name? Dylan what?
Yeah, I can't remember his name,
yeah,
but
but he's got a whole year to
yeah, he's a
decommit.
2025 guy. Not saying it.
No, I thought he's
been-
playing. I thought he's on the team now.
No, I think he's for next year. I think they signed him for next year.
Look at the
So Carolina, I mean, they've had good defenses in the past, but it's not recently that they've had a good defense.
They have not had a
It's-
good defense in the last 5 years.
Oh yeah, I'm talking 12 years ago.
Sure,
Yeah.
I mean, but look
Yeah.
at the
It's
names.
been a long time.
Look
Yeah.
at the names that you
2010.
had out there, and they're all defensive linemen. I mean, yeah, Clowney.
Clowney.
But it's
I
just
mean,
this the weakness is there, and nobody addresses it at all. It seems like to me, because all you got to do is run the ball up the middle, 30 times a game, and you're fine.
The next spot I think they're missing is linebackers. So I mean, last year there was a game that I went to, and it was embarrassing to watch the linebacker play. I went to the Florida game last year. Complete collapse of the linebackers, which cost them the game. Florida ran the same play 4 plays in a row. They caught 3 passes. It was just
your game is going
game.
poorly when your safety is your leading tackler. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
So they do have Dylan Stewart, 5-star freshman from DC. He will be on the team now. He's a freshman. Now he's a freshman, but he's a 6'6", 248-pound freshman. 5 stars. And you got Tonka Hemingway.
What's he playing?
Defensive end.
Yeah, a 248-pound defensive end in the SEC is like a beanstalk.
You better be fast.
He's smaller than me.
There's hope for you.
Hey, I've seen you jogging the trail there. You can't. You got you.
Okay, so the team that if I was going to put only because oh god I can't say this the team that if you were going to put money on them beating their win total of 4.5, it has to be Florida.
Oh.
Here we go.
Listen, toughest schedule in the country.
Then why would you go more than 4.5 wins?
Because easily they could win the first 6 games, right?
Never say easily with Florida.
No,
Yeah.
don't screw it up.
Sorry.
To be fair, though,
Wait a minute.
to be fair to this, it's projected if they somehow, some way won 8 games, they would make the playoffs with how hard their schedule is.
But listen, we have
You think they'll beat Miami?
No.
Uh,
I think Miami's oversold. I'm not going to say they're going to beat them, but Miami's not where everybody thinks they are.
I'm very comfortable with Graham Mertz at the helm of this offense, and he's very accurate, deadly accurate. I mean, 74% accuracy last season. So I think that deadly, yeah, with 3,000 yards passing, and he missed a game.
So are you saying that Florida is your surprise team of the SEC this year?
No, I think that they win 7 games.
Is
not
Graham
4.5.
Mertz your dark horse Heisman?
He could be in it. He could be in the.
Lord.
He could be in the
If
conversation.
they get to 8 wins, and then they're a potential
You're at least
playoff
2 weeks
team.
ahead of schedule here. You're at least 2 weeks ahead of schedule.
Yeah, I mean Miami's going to determine it because that's a tough team to play. They've had 3 seasons in a row with top 10 recruiting classes. I mean, this is a team
sorry,
that's built to win some games.
Here's the only thing about Miami that I'll say is they always seem to be better in the beginning of the year than they are at the end of the year.
They
I
could
don't know
also
why
be.
that is. Maybe it's just too much partying in Miami. Whatever it is, the snow wears off. There's no snow in Miami. You get what I'm
Well,
saying?
depends on what kind of snow.
Okay, thanks, Cheeks.
So they're a good first half team, but not the second half. Okay.
So, but I'm
I hope that's the case in 2 weeks.
Well, I think they're a first half of the year team because they've come out of the blocks fast the last couple of years, and then they've cooled off.
Let's talk about the best team in the Big Ten,
Ooh,
Oregon.
The Oregon Ducks.
Oregon. Yeah.
10-5 expectations.
10-5.
10-5. They're playing a lot of games.
10-5. Sorry,
They're on the NFL
10.5.
schedule.
Yeah, they're expected to win 10.5 games.
They're so
Okay.
good they get to play more games.
Yeah, 10-5. They're even yeah.
I
So
like your attitude.
They have 2 teams, and both their teams are going to beat your team.
offensively,
Probably.
so offensively, they're going to be good. Defensively, they're going into a conference that typically has pretty good defenses, right? So I think that 10.5 might be a little aggressive for them because they're going to be playing in a brand new conference. Now they've shown that they could beat Ohio State in the past. How many years ago was that?
A couple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but they got Ohio State at Oregon.
yeah, and that's a game that is Ohio State's to lose at that point. What do you think? Is Oregon going to be the team to beat in the Big Ten, or is it going to be Ohio State, Ripper?
Well, I mean, are we talking about the 13-game schedule, including the conference championship game, or are you just talking about head-to-head matchups? Because if you're just talking about head-to-head matchups, honestly, I think Oregon's got a good chance to knock off the Ohio State at home. But
So are we looking at a
they
rematch in the Big Ten championship?
Well, no, because they're not going to be seated that way. Oh, in the Big Ten championship, it depends.
Okay.
They got Michigan at the Big
They got
House.
Michigan at the Big House, and that's fairly early on in the season.
I think
it's not.
I think Michigan is
November.
Oh, it is, yeah.
takes a major step backwards this year.
And
You missed the beginning. I've already made 3 cracks at the Big Blue. That they are the most.
what are they ranked number 9?
9.
Yeah, there's no way that team is going to be
If you
9
remember-
after by the 4th week of the
If
season.
you remember
probably.
last year, it's a courtesy ranking such as I'll call upon the Horned Frogs.
Baylor.
No, the Horned Frogs.
Oh, yeah.
So who-
TCU. That's what I meant.
Who
Yeah,
was
sorry.
They were
who
my
was
Cinderella
ranked highly, and
favorite.
then they went and got beat by Colorado, which we know how that turned out. But everybody was all big on Colorado. It's going to be the same situation this year with Michigan. They got a courtesy ranking. Thanks for not embarrassing the Big Blue after having a national championship. It's possible that Michigan's not even in the top 25 by the end of the year.
So with Oregon, they face 2 ranked teams. They have to go to Michigan, and they have Ohio State at home. but they're going to get tripped up somewhere along the way. Whether it's at Camp Randall,
It's at Oregon State. That's where they get tripped up every single year.
Exactly. But they're still going to be a 10-2 team, so that may or may not put them in the conference championship. If they have 10 wins at the end of the season, they're more than likely in the top 12.
I'll put it like this. They beat Michigan. Ohio State, I think, is going to be one of the best games to watch all year. Give them the nod for being in Eugene. But what I can tell you is this. The Oregon State, I think, is one they've got to watch. But unlike past years, it's third game of the season. Usually that's the last game of the season for them, to where Oregon State comes in and tries to play spoiler on them, which they have done numerous times in Corvallis. But the other game, I'm telling you, not because there's any statistics to support this. The team that always makes noise late in the year and always goes, how did you lose to them? And they managed to get that one win is against Maryland, and that's the third to the last game this year. Maryland always plays spoiler.
Maryland has a brand new. They lost Tua's brother.
There's no reason they should be in the game. What was it? Maryland took Ohio State to the brink a few years back when they were
They
really
took Michigan to the brink.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Maryland playing them that late. There's no explanation for it. They always give a good team hell late in the season, and they either beat them and ruin a season, or they give them all they want.
Now,
Maryland is supposed to have 7.5 wins this season, so they
in a weak schedule.
In an extremely weak schedule, yeah. But they do play Penn State, Oregon, and USC, and Iowa. So they have 4 ranked teams that they're playing against.
It's never late to turtle. It's never good to turtle late in the season.
I don't think USC is going to be ranked at the end of the season anyway. And Iowa, depending on where their offense is
I get the turtle head poking.
So I'm going to come across as a homer, and I don't mean to, but I've been really thinking about this.
Let's hear what you got to say.
Heck, I'm glad you said that.
I do have my Ohio State shirt on. But so for the first 5 years or so of Ryan Day's tenure, offense was amazing. Defense struggled. Last couple of years, they've really got their defense on track.
At the expense of the offense? I don't think so.
Yeah, pretty much at the expense of the offense.
No, it hasn't. They've had a great offense the last couple of seasons.
Not when they came against a formidable defense. They got stalled and they got shut down. What have we done this year is brought in Chip Kelly to be our new offensive coordinator. We brought in a quarterback that not only can make some accurate intermediate passes, struggles down the field, but he also can run the ball. So
that's kind of strange that you gave away a quarterback with 30 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there.
I didn't give it away.
The Cuse.
I hope he does well for you. He's a good quarterback.
We'll talk about ACC next week. I understand.
Over 5-star.
Yeah.
Not much to talk about.
But our offense is going to be improved from where it was at, because where we struggled last year is when things got tough, we couldn't move the chains. It was big play or nothing. Now you're going to have the ability to have a mobile quarterback that we did not have in Kyle McCord that went to Syracuse. And you got Will Howard, who's bigger, faster, and more athletic than McCord is. So that's going to open up the offense a little bit. That's going to make Ohio State more dynamic offensively. On the defensive side of the ball, we just brought in the best young safety in the country from Alabama. And if you have a non-offensive player that has an outside shot to make a run for the Heisman, it's freaking Caleb Downs, man.
Look, everything you said is probably 100% accurate. I won't argue with the thing you just said. But their Achilles heel is Ryan Day has proven he can't win the big game. He gets out-coached by better coaches in the big game, and regardless of your talent.
He didn't get out-coached when we just missed the damn field goal against Georgia.
It should have never come down to that. He had opportunities that should have never been decided.
But you're playing Georgia. It's always going to come down to that.
No, what I'm saying, though, is
Wasn't that kid from Georgia? I think he threw. I think he shaved.
There were a lot of things that went down in that game.
Before you got to that. That's my point.
Nobody ever thought Ohio State should have been in that game. They were in a position to win the game in a game that they were like 12-point underdogs.
Yeah.
But answer me this. Who's your toughest competitor? What's going to be your toughest game?
Oregon. 100%.
I don't think so, because I've got
Oregon's going to be the toughest game for them. Michigan is going to be...
Get out of here.
It's going to be a game... Are they playing?
No. Okay, so I will say that it will be Penn State.
Is it in Happy Valley?
It's in Happy Valley.
Ohio State never plays good in Happy Valley. Nope.
No, I mean Penn State, but Penn State hasn't beat Ohio State or Michigan in
but it's always a good game.
2015 whiteout.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So
you can fact check me. Get the producers to fact check me on that. That was a 2015. I'm going to go back and go 2016 whiteout.
But let's
2016 whiteout.
Let's take it over to Penn State real fast, right? So James Franklin, he's reached his ceiling at about 9.
He's Ryan Day 2.0.
Yeah,
exactly.
Great teams. Who
Just can't get over the hump.
Ryan Day last week.
Yeah. So Penn State
not as much. Yeah.
Always has a good defense, but James Franklin has reached his peak. But
he reached his peak at Vanderbilt. We knew that going in. We had high hopes for him. Penn State fans had high hopes for him. He is a 10-2 coach. He's never going to get them over the hump.
But so he gets you over the hump anymore.
11-1 this season. The only ranked teams preseason that they're playing: Ohio State and USC. The rest of the games, not quite layups.
Again, James Franklin is renowned to lose a game to Minnesota.
So, look, give me to it. So let's assume they beat Ohio State for just a hot minute for this conversation. Their last 2 games are at Minnesota, where he has lost to in big games, or who's the team I just mentioned wrecks the season. Their last game is at Maryland.
Minnesota, the team
They
that has
also have to
that is
go
expected to win 4.5 games
Camp
this
Randall.
season.
So they have to go.
My point being is he will find a way to
Wisconsin's
lose.
gonna, like, not do-
I think
West-
Wisconsin's overrated in my personal opinion. I think Penn State actually has always
even
played always played Wisconsin well. They never played Minnesota well. I don't know what it is.
I do have a sleeper for.
I only see
the Big
2
Ten.
games that Penn
I have a
State
sleeper-
I think could lose.
Who's that?
Ohio State and USC.
USC is going to be awful.
USC is not
It's
going to beat
at
Penn State.
USC.
It doesn't
You
matter.
guys keep on saying, why do we think they're going to be awful? Because Caleb Williams is not
No,
there?
they were worse
Is
with
it-
him.
They were worse. They still have a good quarterback. You have California talent. Stop
'Cause even-
undermining
even
the USC Trojans.
Yeah.
Oh,
Even
I
Cheek
even-
says they're going
I
to be
even
bad
threw
this
in the
season.
towel.
Something just for the table, real quick. When you hit the table, it's really loud on the mic. We
I'm
learned
not
that
used to
last
wearing a
week.
ring. I'm not used to wearing a ring.
We learned that last week.
Yeah.
All right, so here's real quick. Let me touch on this. With the exception of UCLA and Washington, there's a lot of statistics over lots of years. When you have to travel cross country, your win-loss record goes way down. And Washington and UCLA, other than home games, every time they travel, they're going across the country. That just add that factor to it.
Yeah.
Nebraska, 7-5.
Dylan Raiola, maybe.
God, I cannot get this right. Every time I'm like 7-5. It's 7.5 games is Nebraska. Matt Rule.
7-5 is better than 10-5.
Matt Rule's a dope.
True.
Matt Rule
Don't sugarcoat it.
was able to get a 5-star quarterback to his program.
No, he didn't get anybody. Larry the Cable Guy's NIL money or something like that got him there.
Well, his
That
dad,
being
his
said-
dad got like hired as a coach or something like that.
His
Sounds like
dad
Benny.
played for Nebraska as well. That being said, you can build a program around a 5-star quarterback and recruit people to that.
He's a big dude with a big
No
arm.
problem.
They don't have those corn-fed offensive linemen just running to Nebraska anymore. So look at last year with Spencer Rattler, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, running for his life. If that's what that quarterback's doing this year, if he doesn't get killed, he's running for his life.
We didn't have anything like Nebraska offensive lineman here, though.
But weren't you on Nebraska's side last year and the year before?
I'm a Nebraska fan.
Yeah, you are.
In the Big Ten.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to go to bat for you.
'Cause
right
that's
now.
where my wife's
Nebraska is
from.
going to surprise
Oh, I
you
did not
this
know
year. I think 7.5 is that's a tough bet because they're going to be 7 or 8 win year this year. They're going to surprise a little bit of the Big Ten. It's not the game that it was before. If you remember, toward the end of last year, those weren't easy games if you went to Lincoln. So I think that this year is going to be a year where they turn the tables. Does anybody know how many years it's been since they've been to a bowl game?
Yeah, 2012, I think.
It's the longest stint in
Since they joined the Big Ten.
It's the longest stint since they've been in a major conference. So even with the Big 12,
It's been a long
it's
time.
the longest streak.
I got them at 6 wins. I got them at 6 wins.
Nebraska?
Nebraska.
I have them at 7.
That's bowling.
7.5 is a little too many.
They have Colorado.
They
in-
lose to
in week
Colorado
2.
because they don't have the defense to stay with Colorado's offense.
They do.
They have the defense to stay with Colorado's
Wait and
offense.
see.
They
It's
have.
at Colorado. It's at Boulder. So.
They.
When?
Yeah.
Remember your
They'll be fine against Colorado.
Give us a kiss.
So Nebraska plays at Ohio State. That's a loss.
No, that I mean
What?
that they play Ohio
They play
State.
at USC. That's a loss.
I don't think that's a loss.
I think that's solid wins, in my opinion. I've told you I don't think Colorado is. UTEP, Northern Iowa, Illinois, I think Rutgers, Indiana. I think going to Purdue is going to be a harder game than it should be for them.
Yeah, well, Purdue's a spoiler.
That's what I'm saying. So I got them at 5
Purdue's
wins.
always a spoiler.
Purdue's 4.5 this season. Like they're not. Gonna,
Yeah, but for some reason, they're one of those teams that they always pull one out of the back door.
That's
you
Michigan
know?
State the years they were
Indiana does
good.
that sometimes too.
Indiana,
I mean, that-
Indiana is one of the most underranked teams in the Big Ten. If we're actually going to talk about Big Ten,
Thank you for beating on my table.
Can I just throw in my surprise pick from the Big Ten who has an outside chance to make the playoffs?
Who?
All right, I'm going to go through the schedule. They play Howard, Akron, Virginia Tech, Washington at home, at Nebraska, home with Wisconsin, home with UCLA, at USC, home with Minnesota, at Maryland, home with Illinois, at Michigan State. No Ohio State, no Michigan, no Penn State.
Illinois.
Wow.
Northwestern?
Rutgers.
Wow.
No. Oh, no.
Rutgers was competitive in a lot of games last year.
They're not going to be this year.
I'm telling you, they're looking,
back up there.
yeah, they're looking like an 8-9 win team.
Keep
Yeah,
talking,
but
baby.
they're
Keep
playing-
talking.
They are at least an 8-9 win
They're
team.
playing
And if
at Virginia Tech. They're going to lose that.
Virginia Tech is awful. This
You
year.
do that's an ACC.
I think they're going to be better than everyone thinks.
I'm telling you, watch out for Rutgers. I'm not saying to knock off Ohio State because they don't even play them, but if they get through their schedule 11-1, there's an opportunity for them to sneak into a 12-team playoff.
Smashed in the playoffs first game.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
take
Absolutely.
the over, take the points in the
For
first
sure.
game of the playoffs.
Yeah, no, that's a no-brainer.
I actually hope that happens,
If
so I can just
Rutgers
smash
makes the
something
playoffs,
and go to bed feeling good before the
would be a
game's
higher
over.
seed than
I mean, that's like
Yeah.
that to me. That's the equivalent of Liberty making the playoffs as the
We discussed this last week.
Exactly.
That ain't happening.
happening.
I'm just saying that's the same scenario for the Big Ten.
Liberty's making the playoffs because they're going to win all of their games.
Do you want to bet a beer on that?
Ooh.
Rutgers.
I'm gonna be on
There's
that, yeah.
there's one game I only care about. They're going to lose.
You think they're going to lose it, but they have a good team. They had a great team last season.
Hey, the
Rutgers should
gauntlet's
go
out.
undefeated on that schedule.
Hang on a second. The
They
gauntlet's
play
out.
no
Liberty-
teams that are...
We're
I
talking
don't
Big
think
Ten, but we want to finish this one right up
they
here.
could
Do we
well.
have a wager? Liberty makes the playoffs. Liberty does not make the playoffs.
Oh, no, that's not where we went. Appalachian State beats them in Boone.
That's fine.
The end of September.
Anyway,
that's the bet.
We have a bet.
I'll bet you a beer on that for
All right,
sure.
okay.
Absolutely.
I will be
All
there.
right.
I don't
Let's
know.
go back to
I think I'm on your
Rutgers.
side with that one. Yeah.
Ripper, I will bet you a
Would be
beer
good.
that Rutgers does not get more than 9 wins this year.
That's
9.
9.
What's the projected at?
9.
I don't know what they're projected at.
Hold
but
on.
They've only
They're
got 3
projected at
possible.
4.5.
They really, no, they're not.
Yes, they
Yes,
are.
they are.
I'm
They're
telling you,
projected
they're terrible this year.
4.5 games this season.
Rutgers.
Yes.
They're terrible.
Oh, sorry. 5.5 games.
Let's
My
make
bad.
it 8.
No, you just said 11.
I'm just telling you,
giving
they don't
2
play the Power
games.
3. They don't play the Power 3.
Okay, then your 9 games should be fine.
Can you get me a
Ladies and
beer?
gentlemen, our gambling podcast starts in 20 minutes.
I don't know if I can afford a $1.50 beer, but you're on.
New owners, $3. No,
Nine-
I'm joking.
hey,
I'm joking.
if it's 9
They've always been $3.
Hey, man, inflation's more than that.
All right, 9 beers. I mean, 9
9 beers.
9 wins. You buy me a beer. Anything less, I buy you a beer.
Oh, that's
Fair
easy.
enough.
Yeah,
Oh,
that-
yeah.
I'll take that bet.
I would
too.
take that bet too.
I think anyone would take
Same.
that bet.
Yeah.
Bud Lights at Papa Tony's.
I know.
I
Yeah.
love
I'll
this
buy you a
guy.
pitcher of beer.
And I wanted MJ's.
$2
And,
long
I
as
want,
it's Bud
and I
Light.
want Candy to hand it to me that says courtesy of the Ripper.
Hey,
Courtesy of the-
I had to try something, you know?
That's what she said.
Let's talk about how bad Michigan's going to be this season then.
I don't know how many more jokes I can put out there.
We'll throw out one more.
I got the Big Blue is going to be the Big Terrible this year. I got them at 7 wins. I got Michigan going 7-5.
You think they're way overrated? You said
Pardon me
that
for a
earlier.
moment. I gotta-
You want a hug? You want a hug? All right, come here, bring it in. Big Guy. Bring it
We
in.
have
That's
some
nice.
hugging going on at the
Good stuff.
table.
It's a shame this isn't on a video.
I know, right? I might get some cameras in here at some point. You know?
You should have. You would have seen. He was trying to go camping because there was a tent going on.
Was?
So Michigan, brand new coach, not the team they were last season. Schedule's relatively tough. I mean, they play Texas, they play Oregon, they play Ohio State.
They're going to lose
That's a
all
tough
3 of those
season.
by a long shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe even one more to some other team as well.
I got
Like,
them at
dirty
4
talk.
losses.
So 8-4.
Huh?
I got them at 4 losses.
Oh my
Four
gosh,
losses.
come here.
I think
Who's the fourth?
Come
They
here.
lose Texas. They lose Oregon. They lose Ohio State. They lose at Michigan State this year.
At Michigan
In
State.
Lansing.
At Michigan State.
That's a bold move, Cotton. But
Yeah, but I mean, that
That's
is
really
in-state
good.
rivalry. They've lost before, and they found ways to lose before. That's
Michigan
for
State is a
Remember
brand
that,
new coach this season.
The
I don't know,
fumble
I can't
punt. I
remember
just
who
was
it is.
watching that reel this morning.
Wow, that is pretty bold. Question of the day. Question of the day. Only one person sent me a question of the day today.
You losers.
I'm very sad about that.
I have my question ready, but why don't we?
No,
No. You were prepared. I want Cheeks to go first.
Biggest surprise in a good way this season. Neon Dion has a decent season and moves up to the SEC when one of those choices gets fired. Where is he going?
Florida.
Shane
South
Be-
Carolina.
see,
I say he's
Neon Dion's
replacing
going.
Shane Beamer.
Shane
We
Beamer.
called that last year.
Shane Beamer.
Get out of here, Shane Beamer.
I don't know. I mean,
South
I don't know if he could go to
Carolina will
Florida
not-
after playing at Florida State.
South Carolina will not give him the
money.
reins. No, the reins or the control that he will demand
Right, he
to come
does,
here and
yeah.
play. That's why. What was the guy that was at Texas that went there and flopped? The guy that was
Muschamp.
no.
He was at Florida.
The guy that was at Houston and went to
Muschamp
Texas.
went to Texas,
His name is.
Oh, he's from
Lee.
Ohio State, actually. He was our.
So kind of the same thing happened there because they really wanted
Pittsburgh.
him, and it fell through for a lot of reasons. He won't come to South Carolina because the old heads will not allow him to come here and conduct
might
his
get
business.
D on that
Not
guy.
to conduct his business the way he does in Colorado. It won't happen.
Keep in
He's
mind,
a-
we're still in the first contract with Shane Beamer, so I don't think that we're there yet.
And he's a really liked coach, regardless of what.
Nobody
he's
liked
done.
Muschamp, and they kept him for 4 years.
Well, just because Muschamp was their choice behind Dawn Staley, she just refused to take the job.
Florida will give him the reins to catch
give him the
Florida
money to
State,
do it.
Catch Florida State. Florida
Would he
State
go
would
to
be like,
Florida, though,
go
after
catch
playing at Florida State?
Absolutely.
How many million do you have?
How many million does he already have?
It still doesn't matter.
Right.
Still doesn't
He's
matter.
missing a couple toes he needs to pay for.
God, here we
And he
go.
wants to take his son with him.
Hey, don't drink that water.
I don't know that I want Dion at Florida in the first place. I mean, it would be great for recruiting, maybe, but
This is a podcast.
I know. I mean, you're
Please
doing pretty
keep your
solid. at
personal
6 and
opinions
6,
out of this.
So
Yeah, I think recruiting would be amazing.
Dion in Florida? Oh Lord, he
you
might
think
not
that would be
survive.
good for the program?
No, I don't think it'd be good for Dion. He might not make it.
well, I don't know because
But what Go ahead. Let's finish.
89 to 92 was Neon Dion in college, and really his career as a player is fizzled out as far as the limelight goes. So I bet a lot of those recruits don't really know or get the whole Neon Dion.
They know who
experience.
Deion Sanders is. They know who Deion Sanders
Yeah,
is.
their dad does.
You can't.
I'm talking about the players that they would be recruiting now.
worshipped
But my-
him.
they
have
Him as a
parents.
kid.
My projection was this,
Yeah.
though. He don't come to the SEC. Miami fires their coach when they underperformed this year, and he becomes a hurricane.
I can see that.
That's what happens. That
I
way he's
can
not.
see that.
That's just
I don't
what's
think he's
happening.
recruiting
That's
another
laughable,
year.
man.
Big difference
He's not
between
gonna be in
Boulder
Colorado next
and
year.
Miami.
Cristobal's
Big
going to be at Miami for a while. He's been doing fine.
He is.
He might be their
I
defensive
mean,
coordinator.
9-3 is.
They thought they were
The recruiting that they've been
No,
doing?
thus far, they thought he was like overnight going to become Jimmy Johnson-esque, and he has not done that yet. I mean, they put a lot of hype into him. He's underperformed. You've had a lot
He
of
could have
coordinators.
become an Al Coker.
You've had a lot of look. Here's what I see. You look at the outside stuff losing in. You have seen a lot of his coordinators leave. You've seen a lot of coordinators leave, which tells me he goes down there. They go down there. They don't like what they see, and they get out. Even one of his guys went for a year and left and came back out.
Right.
If they don't do something special this year, they will consider firing him, especially if they talk to Neon Dion and he's willing to come to Coral Gables.
I don't think he's going to spend another year in Colorado. It's too cold.
He's already the luster's already fallen off out there because of how he conducts his business.
Right.
You know, when you're losing a quarter of your team every year just because
Yeah.
you know you don't care about them, at some point that wears
Who
people
wants to
out.
play for a coach that doesn't give a crap?
Well,
Right.
when are the players going to care about the coaches and the program? So it goes both ways, in my opinion. And
does.
money is
It
there.
does.
He's generating money. Deion Sanders in Miami is a slam dunk for me. But anyways,
He has
that
to
wasn't the
prove, in
question.
order for him to recruit, in order for him to continue to recruit well, in the portal, he's going to have to sell the vision of, oh, come here and we're going to win because we've proven we can win. But he hasn't proven he can win yet. That's
No, but he does have
that's not what he
preseason
says.
All-American on his roster now.
That's not what he sells. He sells media. He sells spotlight. He sells NIL
And sunglasses.
In the NFL.
in the NFL. So
pistachios?
you don't need to win in Deion's mind because he's got a business mindset. So I wouldn't necessarily rest on that. Where that's what
He
the
was really good,
traditional
though.
teams were doing. So that's why the SEC would gain power. That's not where we are.
Tell me where there's more money: Boulder, Colorado, or Coral Gables, Florida?
Yeah, of course. Miami's
Exactly.
got
So
plenty
you
of money.
you take him down there with those donors, he'll buy everybody.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it'll shake out.
So he's going to Baylor.
Question of the day. What's your question of the day?
Well, I had one. Then we got talking about Neon Dion. So my
That's how we do.
question of the day is: who are the two coaches that are on the biggest hot seat?
Oh, we talked about that
Shane
last week.
Bieber and
Yeah.
and Billy
And James. I said
I think Arkansas.
I said
coach
Penn
as well.
State.
So I can't
James Franklin. I don't. Again, I'm going to go to bat for my hometown boy. Shane Beamer is building a culture.
Yeah, he's-
and
He ain't going anywhere.
he ain't going anywhere. I don't think he's going. If
God, I want to tell you guys, I told you so at the end of the season.
like 7-5, 6-6. That's
Gamecock football.
that's Gamecock football, and I hate to say that.
That's awful.
We had Steve
Yeah.
Spurrier here. Again, we've already talked about the gaps. Get a darn front four and get a big three behind them on the defense, and you will turn Gamecock football around. He's not doing that. I think he's going to start doing that. I think he's there for at
But
least
we
2 more
shouldn't
years.
want to achieve mediocrity. That's what
Nobody
you're
wants to
doing.
achieve mediocrity, but I will tell you, once you fall in a downward spiral of coaches, if you look at my shirt, it's called Syracuse University. We're hoping that we've
Yeah, but it's green. You're orange.
yeah,
So-
big Irish community up there.
So the thing you got to keep in mind with South Carolina, mediocrity, their fan base is okay with. So anything above that is a win. They are realistic fans, unlike the team up a little north that has a P in their name. Now they've been spoiled.
Yeah.
9-3, fire the coach. This is
Right.
unacceptable, right? So the good thing about South Carolina and Shane Beamer, they will give him a lot of latitude. The reason they ran Muschamp out of town was he was overpaid and he wasn't mediocrity anymore. So I got a question too.
Does
You get back around to me.
Mississippi State's coach make it more than 1 year?
Yes, he'll be
Yeah.
fine. They'll give him plenty of time.
I got my response to your answer.
What's your
So if
Ryan Day.
Ryan Day?
Ryan
Is
Day.
I'm going to say Ryan Day because, like I've been hearing for the last 3 you-know-what years, he's not winning the big game. Now, it may not be his fault that he's not winning the big game,
But, it all
but
rolls
in the
uphill,
end,
buddy.
he's not winning the big game. Jim Tressel won the big game against the team up north.
And had
Jim
amazing
Tressel
sweater vests.
got a national championship. Urban Meyer won the big game against the team up north. He won one championship with Ohio State. Ryan Day has proven that he was unsuccessful. I think he's like 1-3, 1-4 against Michigan, and is yet to win a national championship. And I think this is his 6th year now. So I would put Ryan Day. He's got all of the money. He's got all of the talent. There is no more excuses if he does not win. Dion?
Oh God.
Deion?
Deion's going everywhere.
He's not going Ohio State.
He ain't going to Ohio State.
He
my
goes to Miami and crystal ball goes to Ohio State.
Lord have mercy,
I had to
man.
make it fun.
So my question goes off the reservation completely because this is talking sports, not football, right?
Oh.
So over under how many years? Because this individual has got me watching something I don't otherwise watch. How many years
Breakdancing?
before the WNBA accepts Caitlin Clark and appreciates her what she's done for the league and rides her like a rented mule?
Next season they will.
Oh, it's already done. I think
Yeah.
that question's already done.
Yeah,
She's in the
fine.
media.
They
every single day.
they played the other night and the girl deliberately sped up walk to like try to knock her off as she's walking off the court. That kind of bullshit like that. I'm saying, when does that end? They go, protect this gal. She's bringing us a lot of money.
I don't think
No,
they're
that
ever
kind of stuff
They're not going
builds.
to protect her.
That kind of
Thank
stuff
you.
helps.
Yeah, that makes the
Back
media.
publicity.
I'm not on that, but I'm saying is, as a player, do I go, you know what? I'm not going to take a cheap shot because, I want to beat her, but I'm getting a lot more money in my pocket at this
Yeah,
point.
people watch NASCAR for the crashes. They watch
Yep.
they watch boxing for the knockout. They watch
Hockey for the fights.
WNBA to see who's going to kind of tag
Yeah,
Caitlin
I'm
Clark.
sure, I'm sure
you
in
know?
the NBA when Michael Jordan went in there back in the mid '80s in 1985.
No, they beat the hell out of him.
NBA just welcomed him with open arms. None of those guys from Detroit, they were just like, "Come on in here, big guy."
In today's world, they would. Look at LeBum.
I'm just saying.
We did that last week.
We talked about LeBron
Oh, let's
last
not.
week.
No,
We're
no,
not talking
no,
about. I'm just
Yeah.
saying. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing
been
that
hashed
they're
out.
breaking her in a little bit.
Oh, no, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying at some point, you protect the golden goose a little bit better than
No,
you are
all
now.
this,
She's
even
23
the
years
bad media is good for the WNBA.
So
They
Taurasi's going
want
to
that.
retire, and she's going to fill that void. That's it.
Possible.
They
Yeah,
need all the
yeah.
media they can get. Make as many TikTok videos as you can.
I told you, I was going off the
All that
reservation
stuff,
for
man.
that one.
That's fine. Anyone else got a question for me, or should we go and wrap up this show? All right,
Wrap
well,
it
let's
up.
go ahead and say it.
What the fuck?
Thank y'all. No, are we doing the What the Fuzz anymore?
Next week.
Next week.
Next week we'll
Make
do What
time
the
for
Fuzz. If for anyone that listens to the show just for the What the Fuzz moments, go on and come back next week. I'll start What the Fuzz back
And the
up.
legend might be back next week.
The
too.
legend
for
might
What
be
the
back. Oh, right.
Wow.
So anyway, thank y'all for coming out and listening to the show. Keep on tuning in every week to Guys in the Bar Talking Sports.